Hi everyone, we're just gonna let people in for the next couple of minutes. Sorry for running a little bit behind. I realized there was a passcode on here that wasn't sent out, so I just reset the Zoom meeting. Oh, we got a whole classroom. Hey, Spring Arbor folks. They put the pizza up by the camera.
I couldn't hear.
You don't have to embarrass yourself.
Do you want to see it? No. Can you hear us? Hey, Dwayne.
I can hear you.
Hear us? Okay, we can hear you. Perfect.
We've got a classroom of students here.
Love it. Oh, I hear Bonnie's voice. It's a Spring Arbor voice of, well, you're a religious institution, so not the voice of God, but the high up power at Spring Arbor Social Work Program. We'll give you folks a few more minutes. I know our co-hosts were logging back in too. How are things at Spring Arbor?
Good. Thank you, Dwayne.
It's good to see you,
I am
Bonnie.
so glad you're in charge. I am so excited for you. Dwayne just got a big promotion. He's
Well,
gonna
thanks,
do
Bonnie.
great things, yeah.
Yes.
Great things here in Michigan. Dwayne.
And I appreciate you all got food for your students today.
We did.
I miss those days.
What would be awesome if we just pulled out a slice of pizza like.
All right, so for everybody else joining in, we're just gonna wait a couple more minutes. We've got our BSW and our MSW rep who are logging back in. I am in the chat box though, gonna put, sorry for the Spring Arbor folks, but I'm gonna put the link to our student Facebook page. If you're not already a part of it, please feel free to add yourself. It's just called Michigan Social Work Students. For those of you who are in the group room, feel free when you have a time to add yourself to that group. That's a good way to connect with people all across the state. Hi, Dahlia.
Hello.
Welcome. I know we're Kara's hopping back on, and then we should be able to get started here shortly.
Okay.
And also drop one more link for everybody into the chat box too. This is the link to the My NASW community. So if you're a member, when you log into that link, you'll automatically, as a student, be connected to the student My NASW community, which is a national platform to be able to share resources or to connect all across the country. We know here in Michigan, we have around 6,500 social work students. So for those BSWs on the call, you are part of the largest cohort of BSW students anywhere in the country. There's 4,000 BSW students in Michigan alone. And we have about 2,500 MSW level students. So we got a lot of folks in social work programs across the state. And I see Kara's here now and Dahlia. So I'm going to let them take it away and get us rolling, and I'll keep letting people in as they join. And we have a classroom today that joined us. You can see that's Spring Arbor. It's a
Awesome.
good team there.
Awesome. So sorry I was late. I forgot I would have to join the Zoom again. So hi, everybody. I'm Kara Rossi. I'm the MSW student representative for NASW Michigan. My pronouns are she and her. And I am in my second year of my master's program at Michigan State University. And we just are super happy to have our first town hall with you, and we'll get to know each other in a little bit. Dahlia, you want to introduce yourself?
also Dahlia, and my pronouns are she, her. And I'm the BSW student representative, and I'm in my second to last semester in the program at Oakland University. And we're excited to have everyone here and to meet all of you. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. Grant, did you have an opportunity to introduce yourself?
No, I didn't, but I can introduce myself. So hello, everyone. I'm Grant Vermilia. I am the BSW intern this school year with NASW-Michigan, and I go to Siena Heights University in Adrian. So I'm very happy to be here with all of you today.
Awesome. So we definitely want to make sure we have an opportunity for you all to get to know each other as well. We've got a decent sized group, so rather than do that with all of us, I think we'd like to do a few breakout sessions for you all to do meet and greets with each other. So in that session, of course, talk about your names, your pronouns, the school that you're going to, your year, and any topics that you'd like to discuss today, or even brainstorming on topics that you'd like us to discuss in future sessions, as that'll come up later in the agenda.
All right, so I know the Spring Arbor group in person, you'll have to be a little bit trickier on how you navigate your technology to introduce your classroom. So maybe we'll try to make that breakout a smaller group of people. I will get those breakout rooms started, so give me just a minute to do that. And then while I'm doing that, do you want to maybe just give an overview of kind of what you're hoping to get out of today, Kara or Dahlia?
Yeah. Definitely. So I'll start, and Dahlia, feel free to add a little bit of meat. So first, sure, we wanted to have a large group discussion on placements and how people are going through and feeling about their field placements. And I know that there's been changes to it for me personally. I'm doing an employer's placement because of COVID. And so, and what we've seen from some of the online dialogue is that there's opportunity to talk about that. We'll do another breakout session where one group for those of us that went to lead, can talk through that and process debrief on those topics, and another breakout session that Dahlia will be leading. And then we'll come back together to talk through any other topics that have come up through those discussions, and then some brainstorming for future planning. Anything to add, Dahlia?
No, I think you covered everything on the agenda.
Awesome. Perfect. All right.
Okay, so I realize I'm a terrible technology host today as your moderator, and I did not click the breakout session tab in the Zoom settings. So
Okay.
I will have to, we can either just do a general introductions with everybody here, or we could just restart, and I'll take 1 second to do that. But that may be
Let's do general, just
Okay, let's just
we're
do
all
that.
here. Okay.
Okay.
So it's going to be hard, but I'm just going to go through your names based on how I see you in my Zoom. And so the first person I see next to or group is the Spring Arbor group. So maybe if we want to do a group introduction there, that would be beneficial.
Hello, we are Spring Arbor.
Awesome. Do you have all levels of students with you? Bachelor's, master's, what years?
Just bachelors. I'm a senior.
We have juniors.
Yeah, we have juniors and sophomores as well.
Well, thank you so much for attending. We're happy to have you all. All right, Jennifer.
Yep, I am a master's level at Saginaw Valley State University. I am in the regular standing part-time program. So it was a 3-year program, and I'm in my last year.
Awesome. Ricky.
Hi there. I'm an MSW student, first year MSW student at Grand Valley State. And yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. Amy. Oh, you might be on mute.
There we go. Okay. Hi, my name is Amy Kelly. My pronouns are she, her. I am in my first year as an MSW student at Saginaw Valley State as well. Go Cardinals. Regular standing student in a 3-year program part-time.
Awesome. Thank you. Danielle.
Hi, everyone.
Ooh,
Manager for NASW, and I'm excited to listen and learn today.
awesome. Thank you for being here. Colleen?
I'm actually not a student. I wrote in the chat that I'm interested in what the students think of the licensing requirement. It seems like it's overwhelming to me, you know, but it seems in Michigan a bit counterproductive because there's money that requires licensing, get a better job, and you know, it's a catch-22 thing. So, so that's one of the things that, and I'm glad we have an NASW rep here as well. And then the other thing that, since I'm looking for a job, I am wondering about is how do you appraise your skills so that you know what you can ask for when it's time to look for a job.
Awesome. Thank you for that. We'll make sure to, I'm just getting notes to be able to take some notes on ideas that we have. Okay, Stacy.
Hello, I'm Stacy. I use she, her pronouns. I attend Wayne State University. I'm in the advanced standing MSW program there.
Awesome. Thank you. Megan?
Hey, I'm actually driving and listening to you guys, but I'm an MSW student at Spring Arbor.
Awesome. Thank you for joining. Teresa?
My name is Teresa Bell. I am first year advanced standing MSW program at Western Michigan University.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. Mariah?
Hi, everybody. My name is Mariah. I am a first year master's student at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. I also placed this in the chat for people who need it. I'm excited to be here. So 12-month MSW and pronouns are she, hers.
Awesome. Thank you. And then Jessica? Oh, you might be on mute.
Thank you. Hi. I was supposed to start my MSW clinical at Michigan State this fall, and I was hit by a car, and so I've deferred it until next fall. So, but I'm still trying to keep an ear tuned to some things, and thought this would be a good something for me to attend and learn from. So yeah, lots to learn.
Great. Thank you. Happy to have you. Kristen?
Hi, everyone. My name is Kristen. This is my second year at Wayne State University. I'm a Master's of Social Work and Infant Mental Health student.
Awesome. Thanks. And then Jody.
Hello, I'm Jody. I'm in my second year of the 3-year part-time MSW program at MSU, and I'm just here to listen in.
Awesome. Thanks, Jody. Dahlia, would you want to take us through the field placement discussion that we talked through?
Yes. So we were wondering, well, I guess, so how is everyone's field placement going if you are in a field placement this semester? Kind of wanted to have a group discussion on, you know, what's going on and how can we support you through your field placements. Teresa? Oh.
Go for it.
I was just going to say, being in the MSW program, in the advanced standing program, having the opportunity, kind of only because of COVID, to be able to participate in an employment-based internship is a phenomenal opportunity. I'm kind of glad that this happened because it has allowed me to continue to work my job. I'm already stressed and overwhelmed because of COVID, but it allows me to continue to work on my education and to do it in a way that kind of fits my life right now. And so doing my internship, employment-based, has just made things a lot easier from the perspective of just thinking about what things look like in the past when I was in the BSW program and doing my internship, as well as what things would look like in the future. I really hope that one of the things that the universities do is look at how this impacts students and allows the opportunity to give more chances to participate in employment-based internship without like requirements of how long you've been employed there already, or kind of adding additional requirements in as long as you can meet all of those competencies. And so again, just saying that I'm really glad to have had the opportunity to do that employment-based internship, and hope that it's something that really continues even after we kind of leave out of this COVID period, if it ever ends.
Thank you for sharing.
I've had a lot of benefits of doing an employment based field placement as well. And since it's generalist, I do a lot of macro level work, which I think has been beneficial, but I'm trying to pursue a clinical concentration. And so that is just one gap that I've noticed, is I'm not doing any direct client interaction yet. So trying to accommodate that with doing some shadowing of those that work in my organization that are doing that. So just sharing as well. But I do think it should extend beyond COVID as well. So maybe there's some advocacy or talking we can do about that.
Thank you, Kara. Would anyone else like to share what's going on for field placements or any ideas for field?
I can just say, since I haven't done my field yet and I haven't started the program yet, so I'm probably at least a year out from doing that. I'm nervous about managing employment field placement. Somehow people are doing it because that's still the way the program is designed. But if, I'm an older student and I am not expecting my employers to, necessarily be receptive of that. So I'm just amazed and, curious about making that happen at some point.
So
Trying not to
Jessica,
write too
it
much
sounds, it looks like you cut out a bit.
Oh, sorry.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
just trying not to worry too much about it. But yeah, it seems like people make it happen, but also, it doesn't seem like the programs are designed for returning students who are, managing a full life on top of, doing school part-time. So
Yeah. And the good thing about different programs is there are different options for field placements. They're not all employment based. So like my field placement, I'm at the BSW level. I work at my library job. I don't have my field placement there. My field placement is at a public school. So they arrange it where I have to juggle different schedules, but I'm working and being a student and doing my field placement as well. So it's doable, it's just a lot, but
Jessica,
there are options.
It is really challenging. I'm an older student. I have 4 kids. I work 2 part-time jobs, plus the internship, and it is insane. It is really hard. You have to make sure you have a good support system in place, make sure that you're ready for it, meal plan. Like the works, like you really have to maximize everything you can. I don't get a day off. I'm busy 7 days a week. It's constant. And it is hard to try to juggle that, especially because having seen other older non-traditional students, it is very, very hard to find non-traditional placements. Most placements are Monday through Friday. And so they do impact your job, and it is really, really hard to find those. So you just kind of have to buckle up and know that it's going to be difficult. Maximize, see if you end up at a placement where you have to do Monday through Friday, if you can find opportunities that they'll let you work from home on the weekends, kind of some things that you can do outside of there, some tasks that you can up your hours that way. But there is no real easy way through it. You just have to kind of know that it's going to end.
Thank you for sharing, Jennifer. And I see some in the chat as well, but people sharing how they juggle work and raising a family and school, and that's a lot of things. And it's very, I'm glad that you all are sharing with us that these are your experiences and they're all valid.
I'm curious for folks on, is anybody who's in a field placement in a paid field placement?
No.
So I know that the town hall that we're having next week nationally on kind of hot topics in field, that's going to be one of the conversations around, oh, Teresa says you are, it's going to be paid placements and the conversations happening nationally around kind of the ethical implications for that, as well as the barriers to access in the field for having that be kind of our current makeup for social work field. So that would be a good conversation if you're able to attend that particular event as well. But I was just one person out of what, 16, 17, that seems about the average.
It'd be great if that could change, because I think that would be, especially for older students, some of us, well, all of us have skills and all of us are able to work and really should be able to get paid for the work that we're doing, even if we're in training.
Yeah, it's a pretty mixed bag out there. I mean, there are some organizations that pay a stipend or, they'll reimburse gas, or some will try to pull in somewhat of a salary. And then many don't have any sort of, none of those options, right? And so I think that there's a lot of conversations happening now to try to get creative in the field. Many of our organizations don't have a lot of money, but what can we do to support? Interns are a critical part of the work that many of our organizations do. So it's an equity issue. It also is a access issue to who can even be in the field. A lot of non-traditional students, if you can't work, you're not able to be in the field. And if you're a low income, and you need to work as well, it definitely is a critical conversation in social work right now.
Mm-hmm. So I see there's Teresa, Amy, and then Colleen. Okay, because I see the hands coming up.
I just wanted to add to the paid employment-based field placements, and just say, for starters, I think I work for a phenomenal organization. So I just got to start by saying that. But I think when we look at the number of, or what the unemployment rates look like due to COVID, and so many different organizations needing to continue to provide services out in the community and ensure that those service provisions are out there. I think one of the things that my job did is they have internship opportunities, but they also have employees who are looking to advance so they can move up in different positions within the organization. And for my organization, allowing me to stay in the position that I was in, meet all of my competencies to be able to have that employment-based field placement, and get all of my hours and still doing my job and finding a workaround for that was important, because that meant that they got to keep me as an employee. They didn't just have to move me to being an intern, and then I had to try and figure out how I was going to still make a living. And so they were able to to ensure that I was taken care of, but also thinking about what that advancement looks like for me once I get my MSW. And so I just wanted to say that I think for a lot of companies out there, as we see higher increased rates of, anxiety and depression, and all of those different mental health things, a lot more people needing counseling and therapy as a result of COVID-19, that those are some of those things I think some employers need to take into consideration and really think about when we look at those being placed in social work placements. So.
Thank you, Teresa. Amy?
Well, I just wanted Jessica, I'm also a non-traditional student. I received my bachelor's 22 years ago, so I am coming back into, the college atmosphere. So, and I purposely picked a 3-year part-time program because I worked at the time, I did work full-time and not even in the field of social work. I've been in customer service for 20 years. So I definitely understand the nervousness of trying to pay your bills and study and get the experience you need. So that's why I purposely did a 3-year program part-time to just kind of start over, I guess. So yeah, it's frustrating. It's nerve-wracking. That's basically it.
Okay.
Well, thank you,
I'm-
Amy. Sorry. Go ahead, Colleen.
Okay. I am wondering if the NASW and or the schools where the students do these placements can apply for grants or matching grants with the placements, because honestly, you don't want to send the message to the students that their work isn't worth anything because it's worth a great deal. They're students, they're studying, and we live in a capitalistic society. So it's only fair. It's only fair. Just yeah, just to let you know.
Thank you, Colleen. And yes, I agree with everyone that it's a big issue in the world of social work among social work students, that they have to juggle all these responsibilities and be successful at their internship. That doesn't, like, you get hours, but you still have to work to pay your bills and your tuition and take care of your family, and it's a lot to juggle. And I hope that we can continue the conversation and I think, Dwayne, you mentioned there's the town hall. I hope that we can make an impact there.
Yeah, and on that call, you'll also hear some of the work that's being done across the country around creative ways that folks are finding ways to have paid placements. Because some of our organizations can afford it, some of them realistically cannot. And so we do have to get creative in thinking about alternatives. But I think ideally we would like to build a social work community where students are getting paid. I mean, you're also paying to be in your placement, right? So there's a lot of things to be considering. So it's going to be a long-term conversation, right? This isn't sadly something that'll be fixed overnight, but we want to have a whole force of people working on this across the country.
Where are the details for that town hall?
I dropped it into the chat earlier, or you can find them on the NASW-Michigan site.
I also I think it also ties into some of the work that Adam, one of the representatives on the board, has been doing. And he even talked a lot about it at LEAD in terms of improving, like, potentially making changes to the social work workforce and advocating on behalf of social workers for better compensation in general, because I think that it definitely affects students, as there's a lot of unpaid work that is done. But then on top of it, once you get into the field, there's not always great compensation, and you've just spent all this time and money on your education to go into a very low wage job. So I didn't personally attend that session of LEAD, but I don't know if anyone who is here went to LEAD and did attend that session that could fill in on what Adam and the others that presented at a time talked about. Is our segue into LEAD. Did anyone?
I was in that session.
Oh,
I mean,
perfect.
really, part of that particular topic area, for those of you who were on it, was talking about organizing and unionizing within social work specifically. And as it relates to our workforce. And when we talk about things like salary, time off, burnout, self-care, all those things tie back into the general workforce conversation and what are how are agencies thriving or struggling, and what can we do to best assist folks. So that particular lead conversation focused on the actual like unionizing and organizing within agencies and how that can be done. You know, there already are social workers that are a part of unions through, you know, mostly in like medical settings or in like educational institutions. And so there is some more bargaining power there. And so then as an organization like NASW, we're not a union, but we do a lot of political and legislative advocacy, which then sometimes ties directly into, you know, increasing salaries or things like billing and coding and things like that that then get tied back into, you know, that bottom line of how much we make, as well as things like student loan debt and student loan forgiveness programs, right? You know, that's also a huge burden for people entering the field now versus even 20 or 30 years ago. And so it's critical that we're talking about that. And when you're, you know, I think Colleen was asking about like, what's your value, or, you know, how much do you ask for when you're looking for a job? You know, there's so many factors to be considering when it relates to that. It's not just what is that number in the salary. Yes, that is sometimes an indicator, but it's what does that whole package at the agency look like? What are the benefits? Do they pay for the licensure process? Do they offer you supervision? Do you get professional development? If you need credentialing, do they pay for that, right? Do you get leadership growth and development? Do they have all those fringe benefits like healthcare, 401k matching? Do they reimburse your cell phone costs? Are you traveling, right? Social work is a complex field and we're doing a lot of different things. And so when we're applying for jobs, yes, we need to know like what is our kind of a base number for a salary based off of where we're looking in the state of Michigan, but also it's somewhat personal depending on your situation. Do you have a family you need to take care of? Do you have $10,000 in student debt? Do you have $100,000 in student debt, right? Sometimes that's going to dictate what you may be able to accept. And does the employer qualify for student loan forgiveness programs? Are you able to take a job that doesn't qualify, right? Those are things that we hate to think about. Like, I did not want to think about that when I was a student, but the earlier you can kind of like bring that reality to the forefront, you can really start tailoring your job search to be what's going to fit kind of your best career mold after you graduate.
Thank you, Dwayne. Before we move into potentially other topics from lead, does anyone else have anything they want to contribute to that conversation?
I just want to say, Dwayne, that's a great list of questions that you had there. And I'm also relatively new to NASW, and so I'm not sure how the resources are set up on the website. I haven't spent enough time there, but it would be fantastic to have like that list of questions that you just rolled off the top of your head, you know, or that people could add too, because, you know, it is a lot for people to think about. And also as something to share with employers as we are working with them for field placements and whatnot. You know, I feel like a lot of employers, maybe even outside of social work, do not know what other employers are doing. And there are not legal, you know, it's not regulated as to these are the base things, you know, past like getting a 15-minute break. There really isn't a lot with labor laws. And so it'd be fantastic if employers also, you know, as they're building their own businesses, that they understand here's how you can be a better employer and here's how you can make a more welcoming environment for, you know, for new employees, et cetera. So, and some people here will be employers going forward. So.
Awesome. I saw Dwayne just put in a good professional development resource in the chat. Thank you for that. Did anyone on the group attend LEAD a few weeks ago? Hands up. All right, we've got a few. Yeah. So I think that so LEAD is our Legislative Education and Advocacy Day, and it was a really great session, or a lot of great sessions. This it was my first time attending, but I thought it was great. I learned a lot from a variety of the different speakers, but wanted to talk through maybe I saw Colleen's hand and Amy's hand. Do you want to talk a little bit about what was the most valuable thing that you learned from the sessions that day, or your favorite one? Colleen, I'll have you go first because you're at the top of my screen.
I've been to quite a few lead sessions, so I might mix them up. When we were able to go in person, when we were, and I'm fairly assertive when it comes to talking to our representatives, but when we were able to go in person, we got assigned to go to a representative's office and describe who social workers are, how many of us there are, and what we do, just to familiarize them with who we are. Because when you say nurses, everybody knows what nurses do, but not necessarily so with social workers. And I've run for office before, and so it's just anything that has to do with advocating and trying to change the laws and make them more fair and more common sense. Always, I always like to participate in.
Definitely. I think that what I've learned the most out of my own time, like my own education right now, is just the power of advocacy and telling one story, and how easy it is to contact your legislators and how receptive they are for us doing that. And because I reached out to a few different senators for one of my policy advocacy classes on postpartum Medicaid expansion, because that was one of the bills that I was focusing on. And they were like eager to talk through, eager to help give me talking points when I was going to go to different, write my legislative letters to other people. So it was just cool to see how invested and how much they want us to be part of the process. I hadn't thought about that until taking the class. So Amy, do you want to talk a little bit about your thoughts on LEAD?
Well, there were a couple things that resonated with me. First off, when Dr. Lane talked about political social work and the campaign school, if the NASW-Michigan Chapter had a campaign school session, I would totally go, because it never occurred to me to, oh, you mean I can, run for office? I can get in the political arena? Because I don't know, I guess I naively thought that if you were a politician, it was because you were a lawyer. It never occurred to me that a social worker would be able to run and able to advocate. And when Dr. Kubiak spoke, yeah, that absolutely makes sense, because you're in the trenches. You know exactly what your constituents need and what communities need, what resources. So I would absolutely go. If we do a campaign school again, I would absolutely go to it. So that was what kind of inspired me.
Awesome. Thank you. I know I saw a few other hands that weren't me and Dwayne. Anyone else attend? I can't remember who it was though.
It was the Spring Arbor room. I saw
the Spring
hands.
Arbor room.
Let's make them unmute.
Yeah.
On the pressure. Someone who attended LEAD, what did you like?
I went Go ahead, take it out there.
I said, I don't want to do this. I am really passionate about voting, so I think that one was really cool. And like, I didn't really know or think about before how people were oppressed to vote. Like, I just think that's terrible. And like, we all talked in class about like the tests, like the literacy tests and things like that. were just ridiculous. So that was just something that I learned that I didn't really think about before.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. That was a good session.
I'm going to drop in the chat box. If for folks who weren't at LEAD, one of the things that was mentioned was campaign school. So the Nancy Humphries Institute for Political Social Work is out of the University of Connecticut. They're one of the only specific MSW programs that has a really run for office politics social work track. And so they do local trainings. We had one right before the pandemic. It was February of 2020 where we got social workers trained to run for office. And I think I put in the chat, we'll likely be doing another one for folks who may have some interest in running for any sort of office in 2023. We actually just had a social worker win a seat on the Detroit City Council. Was that last week? So that's Gabriela Santiago Romero. So we're super excited to have her now, another social worker in our ranks. But I'm telling you, like, it is so helpful as an organization that works for social workers to have our people at those tables, because we're able to move things a lot quicker. And as it relates to political engagement, just before this call, actually, I was on a Zoom meeting with a senator from the UP, and they're interested in working on workforce issues because they have virtually no social workers in that. It's like the northwest corner of the UP on the border of Wisconsin. And so thinking about things like licensing reciprocity, they have a lot of Wisconsin people that are kind of right in that border as well. But how do you recruit new social workers into a very remote part of the state? You know, do you have loan forgiveness programs? What does those benefits look like if there's not a lot going on in the actual cities? So, you know, having those local connections to your legislators are so helpful for us as an association, because they want to hear from you. They don't always want to hear from us. They want to hear from their local people. And sometimes it is very higgly-piggly, hodgepodge. Algeria and I met in Mount Pleasant with a senator last week at Stan's Diner at this little tiny little place. And there was like 10 of us crammed around a table talking about community safety and the role of policing in community safety, or what's the role of mental health professionals in community safety, right? And there's a lot of conversations that are really critical that people are wanting to talk about. And so having you all on the ground, you know who your local people are, even if they're your city councilors or your township people. And sometimes running for office is a lot easier than you may think it is. And so campaign school is a really good way to at least get those tickers thinking about that.
Awesome, thanks. And Jessica, I see the resource you put in the chat. So just calling everybody's attention to that too.
Yeah, it's been I've done the boot camp, and they apparently had so much interest this year in the boot camp that they offered another session, and so they expanded it. But you do have, it's a very small little application if you're interested. And then they also, once you have done the boot camp, you become a camper, and so they continue to invite you to other things. And so they have workshops that just talk about budget. They have workshops that just talk about, I'm still learning all these things. In fact, on Friday, I'm attending a whole, I think there's a whole leadership workshop, and they're great. They send you things in the mail and support you and buy you lunch. And it's a great group of people. If you're not interested in politics, which I am not, I have worked in politics, so I'm really not. However, I'm very interested in advocacy. And so this does not trigger me at all. So it actually gives me a little bit of hope. So if anyone is interested in that, and again, some of this, I'm planning on being able to draw on these resources in the years to come.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really great way if you think you might be interested, check out Michigan League for Public Policy, get on their mailing list, and they're not paying me to say this, so.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Any other conversation? Oh, Colleen, you have your hand up.
Yeah, there was one person, I think maybe Amy, mentioned that she'd never thought of running for office, and it's actually not as difficult as you might think. It's just like anything else. You get exposed to it, and what Jessica was saying about being an advocate, that's actually what I started out as thinking, but it can be a little bit more complicated than that. You know, you have to take in mind people's not necessarily egos, but yes, egos and their ambitions to and things like that. That's the only difficult part of it. But social workers are trained in group dynamics, so you can use those skills in sorting that out.
Definitely, thank you. So I want to make sure we have time for a few other things. Grant, did you want to talk a little bit about some of the topics you were seeing from the My NASW community? And maybe talk about what that is for the group?
Yeah, so what I am my field placement is with the NASW-Michigan Chapter. So just so you all know, that is an opportunity that I did not know before going into my senior year. But a lot of things that I was seeing on kind of more of a national scale, I get to play around with that My NASW community, and it's just a good way to connect at all levels. You know, you can it's like a Facebook platform for social workers, and it's all of our members. And I've used it to gain topics for events. I know, and also receive feedback from events, topics that we're planning on doing. I know right now what I see a lot of is kind of the same conversation we kind of started off with field placements, where to find them, what types of opportunities are there and exist. But there's also different student communities as well in it, where you see a lot of students. You know, a lot of projects include interviewing social workers in the field, and that is a very good platform to post to a discussion board, and then anyone in that group will see it. And it's just a good way to connect and start building those connections, especially getting into field placements and after senior year. There aren't any topics specific that I think that I would like to mention right now. I think it's a good plug just to use that and see what conversations are going on. And I guess also, just as we've been talking, and something you see on My NASW, or you might see at LEAD, and Dwayne says it all the time, is getting a seat at the table type thing. And one thing I talked about with Adam and kind of those panelists and with Dwayne, was that finding your niche, finding your passion, whatever your passion is, see where social work plays in that, and then get social work a seat in your passions table. I think that is a good way to also think about it. And as I've seen some different conversations on My NASW, there's a lot of people looking for specific types of field placements, remote, maybe because of COVID, more macro, more non-traditional, now that we've seen these conversations happening. And I would say, just if you want to be informed with more conversations going on, more than you just see from our student platforms, just go on that and just look at some of those discussion boards. I think it's really beneficial. I've enjoyed it these past few weeks, getting more involved on it. So you can learn and see a lot. That's all I got.
Awesome, thank you. I do want to, you made a comment about getting like more macro level placements and those opportunities. And Justin Hodges was the panelist at LEAD that I moderated for, and he made a really great point that a lot of people that are doing macro level work are social workers by education, but might not have gone through the licensure, because it is complicated, like calling to your question or comments before. And he really encouraged people that if you're doing this work, or people doing that work, encouraging licensure, so that we have other social workers in the field at a macro level that can do supervision for future macro level social workers. And I hadn't thought about that before, but that's definitely something that I'm hoping, because he's a professor at Michigan, and he's up in some political office, a commissioner, I think, and I can't remember exactly, but he personally does need to find placements for his students and has a really hard time with macro level placements because he can't find supervisory social workers. So if for all of you that are doing it, interested in going macro level, don't stop. Get your licensure so that we can help support the next generation of social workers that are going to be at the macro level. Okay, great. This has been super great conversation. I know it's important to Dahlia and I that we understand some of your interest in future topics that you'd like us to have in these sessions that we have. So I'm just going to let it be open for popcorn idea sharing. You can come off mute or put them in the chat, but what are some things that you'd like us to bring to you all for future programming for our student meetings?
I think it would be great to continue offering sorry, I'm blanking on some words. Just, like some hiring events that are outside of paid conferences. So not everyone can afford to either take a full day to attend a conference, but also it would just be great for, again, for employers or to even have like, is there a resource for employers who are plugged in and want to be available as a resource? Or, like, do we have a map of employers who, are members of NASW? Or it would just be great if there was a little bit more organization and also community around that, so that employers feel engaged and that people who are looking, because, sometimes people are looking for other jobs, or if they're looking for jobs before they start their program, there's all sorts of needs out there.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that topic. And Dwayne has put in a few resources related to careers there, and also on our NASW-Michigan Career Center, agencies can post positions there if they're looking to recruit our members. So, but definitely have heard like that hiring and getting prepared for hiring would be a beneficial topic for us. So we'll take that back and talk how we can support in that way. Any other topics or ideas? Something that I'm really passionate about, and I'd love to know if you'd be interested in any of these sessions, but one part of the reason why I decided to get my MSW is because I really want to support people that are supporting other people to mitigate and prevent burnout. So self-care is really important to me, and I do and have facilitated sessions on self-care and mindfulness and different things in my professional life. And I'd love to bring that kind of content here if that would be beneficial for you all. Got some thumbs up. So we'll try and do some self-care, gratitude, mindfulness type stuff for future. I love it.
I think that would also just help to create community. So
yeah, for sure. The other thing, just when you said community, it made me realize is I hope if you all make sure you've joined our Facebook group for the MS or the NASW students group, but also the Facebook group for your local region NASW representative. For example, I live in Region 11, and I've gotten really close with Kendra through this process of getting to know her. We're actually having our regional meeting on Sunday at a cider mill, so I'm excited about that. So I know all the regions are putting on a ton of great content. East Lansing, Region 6 has visit to a museum, I think, this weekend. Did I get the date right? So does Saginaw region have an active group?
So Saginaw is Region 5, so you can connect with that region rep there. The region rep, her name is Sue Williams. She currently lives in Midland, but she represents the Saginaw area as well. So I know we got a good amount of SVSU folks on here too. So it'd be good to boost, Sue is the one who helps run the event. So if you've got ideas or want to do something locally, she can absolutely help pull together. If anybody's up near Traverse City, I'll be up there for the school social work conference this Wednesday through Friday. So if anybody's around and wants to grab lunch or dinner, just hit me up too.
Awesome. Great. Kristen, thanks for sharing your ideas in the chat there. So looking at some opportunities to build or strengthen relationships, I would add on to that, like building out our network. I know that that has come up in a few different conversations that I've had, and that kind of feeds into career planning or hiring, right? Like partially how we're able to find opportunities by who we know. So that's a great idea. So for me, I'm not sure if y'all saw my email, but I use November as a time to remind me to center myself around gratitude. Because there's so often times that by this point in the year, my mind is spinning and I haven't taken time to be as mindful and grateful as I should have. So I want to start by saying I'm super grateful for the time that y'all spent with us today. I think we've had a really great conversation. And I want to give you all an opportunity to like take a deep breath, think really quickly about something that you're grateful for, and you can shout it out or put it in the chat and just make sure that we're sharing a little bit with each other. Dahlia, you want to go first?
I guess I'm grateful for community. Like, I guess the people around me, like in my classes or online, NASW community, all that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Dwayne. I'm not going to call on all of you, so just pop it up if you feel like sharing.
So I wanted to say something before you mentioned speaking and being grateful, but maybe these can be tied in. One thing that I'm excited to, become a part of the community. So I'm personally interested in storytelling. And so I was just wondering, and I'm not sure for those of you that are in the Lansing area, they have a couple of things like astronomy on tap or biology on tap. And I was just wondering if there is a social work on tap, like a place where people could gather, again, have some community, and then you have some speakers who, and it could be anybody. So, but sharing a topic, or it could be an experience, etc., and just doing like a little TED Talk. And it's just kind of a nice way to, share storytelling from people that would be, say, in the field. But then, again, this is something that I'm interested in talking with people in the future, is how can storytelling be a part of social work? So that's something, because I have a creative background and I would like to continue using that in, creating space to give people a voice for that. So, so anyhow, I'm excited to have community and to hear people's stories going forward. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think that's a really important addition that we can definitely work on. I know that Dwayne and Grant work on like the student of the month. That's a little bit of story sharing that we have within the emails, but I definitely think there's opportunity to build on that. I'm not super familiar with those events you're saying on tap because I'm not in that area, but we definitely have people around that area that know more. So I do want to be conscious of everybody's time. So we're at the top of our hour. Any closing thoughts, Dwayne, Grant, or Dahlia, before we end?
I just wanted to thank everybody for joining. One of my kind of gratitude, but also getting to know people on these sort of meetings. I think I learned from our last MSW rep Denard, since we're in like these Brady Bunch squares all the time. Some of you might have seen me do this, but I'm going to make you do it. And Spring Arbor folks, you're in person, so you might, well, depending on how you feel about touching humans at this time in our society, but we're going to do a high five to the people who are next to us in our box and below us in our box. So if everyone could just get to know your people really quick. Come on, I see it. I see everybody. Get your hands up. Yep. Okay, that gives us a little stretching too. Good, perfect. So I always just like to do that, gets people moving, especially at the end of the day. Zoom is a lot for us at this point, but I appreciate you all, and I know that the last year and a half has been a lot for students. So it's also been a lot for faculty. So we know that you have been flexible, you have been tenacious, you have been adaptive, and that has not gone unnoticed. And so, you know, our hope is that we can make sure that those skills that you've had to use during the pandemic will directly translate into a good, high-paying job once you enter the field.
Awesome, thanks. Dwayne, just real quick, there was a question on best email to use if there's follow-up questions or ideas.
Send them to Kara or
I was gonna say,
Dahlia.
okay, do you want me to put my email in there? I'll put my email in there.
They are your voice on our board, so they represent our student voices, so they're the best ones.
Yes.
And we will be looking for student reps once they graduate. So starting in the spring, we'll be recruiting a BSW and an MSW level student for our board of directors. So put that in the back of your brain if you think that might be something you're interested in.
Yeah, for sure. And you can also find me. I'm on that Facebook group for the students. Dahlia is too. So any avenue that works for you works for us. Thank you. All
right, thanks everyone. Good to see you all at Spring Arbor. Glad you could join us.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all very much.
Bye.